Welcome to the Inside Track with the Decker team. This program's all about real estate, and today I've got a really special guest with me, because normally I'm Ken Decker, and she usually says Yetta Decker.
I'm Yetta Decker.
But today we have Karen Grant, and Karen Grant is our care coordinator for the Decker team. We've been teasing you about there's other people in the Decker team, so today we thought we'd actually introduce you to one. So Karen, what do you do for the Decker team?
I'm so happy to join you today, Ken. I am a licensed real estate agent, but above and beyond that, I'm the client care coordinator for the Decker team.
Excellent. So what does that mean to our clients? That they're getting special care or something?
Absolutely, they're getting special care. As being a member of a team, it makes it really easy for us to provide above and beyond superior quality service to our clients. There's always somebody here in the office to answer their phone call. If paperwork needs to be forwarded to a lawyer, to a mortgage broker, or another contractor, that can be done throughout the day, any time of the day, without any delay because an agent is out on a showing or whatnot. So absolutely, it's a huge advantage to our clients to be able to work with a team.
Excellent, excellent. So other than send paperwork around, what other things do you do, Karen?
So I do take all incoming calls, and I'm either able to direct them properly to one of the licensed members of our team, either yourself, Yetta, Candace, or Ryan, as well as I'm able to answer questions on the phone. Different from a receptionist or administrator being able to answer calls, I'm able to provide information where the person on the other end of the line is seeking information. I'm also able to complete paperwork as far as offers and whatnot. If people are running and on the fly, I can be sitting stationary at my desk, that when they reach their destination, again, either yourself or one of our licensed members, our realtor partners, that they have the paperwork ready and waiting for them when they arrive at their destination.
Wow.
I also do seek feedback. I'm able to give recommendations for contractors, just a whole slew of things.
So you're really kind of like you're a licensed real estate agent. You've been licensed or not licensed, but you've been working in the real estate industry in Ottawa this is your 14th year, I take it?
Going 14 years in September, yes.
Yeah, so that's exciting. And you're able to do things, what you're telling me is that an average administrator can't do, and yet the majority of your job is inside. So you're stationary, and they have a point of contact, the clients. You, the client, have someone that you can call, and you know that they're in the office between, you're actually 7:30 to 4:30, is that correct?
Absolutely, 7:30 till 4:30 in office, but again, typically I'm reachable outside those hours if need be as well. Mm-hmm. So I don't shut down at 4:30 because that's the end of the work day. I'm reachable as well. So just available and able to care for our clients wherever and whenever they need us to care for them.
Yeah, and that's really excellent because I know when I was a single agent, if I needed a time off, I just prayed that no one would call me or need me.
Right.
Or they would have to wait a long time to get a response.
Right.
Someone called for a price on a home or called to see a home or wanted to put an offer on a home. When it was only me, they had to wait for my schedule.
Right, absolutely. And
yeah.
in this case, I'm able to show homes, write offers, and step in where the opportunity arises if you are unable to, or again, any of our realtor partners on our team, the licensed salespeople, if they happen to be sick one day. There's no reason for our client to miss out on an opportunity because one of our agents are unable to make it to an appointment on any given day. It gives me the opportunity to service our clients in that way as well, to be available to them in case one of you are not.
Yeah, which is really awesome because if a real key property comes up that someone's been waiting for on a particular street or something, then there's always one of the Decker team that's going to be available, even if we need to temporarily pull you away from your desk to go show that property or to write an offer on that property, so it can be done in a timely fashion so our clients don't miss the best properties, because as we know, the best properties sell the fastest typically.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, again, keeping care of our clients, keeping them safe through the process, it's a big part of my job, and really being full service and allowing the Decker team to be a full service real estate team is ideal. Wonderful.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about could be a little bit of a dry topic, but it's something that clients don't necessarily understand, and it's important that they do have this kind of education on the types of ownership and the types of property that are available. So we hear a lot about condominium or freehold and that sort of thing. And so I think that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to actually do something a little different here. A lot of times I run the interview, but I'm going to have Karen ask me questions, and then I'll answer them to the best of my ability, and hopefully that will help our listening audience.
Sure. In our marketplace, there's two main types of residential family housing, and that would be freehold and condominium. A lot of people who will call in to us don't necessarily know the differences, the advantages or disadvantages between those two types of ownership. Just touch basely on the advantages, disadvantages.
All right. Well, I guess freehold would be your cleanest type of ownership. You own the property within the boundaries. Normally you might have a survey of the boundaries, and there'll be pins where the corners are. And you own the property. You own any improvements on the property. So if there's a house on it or a commercial building or a garage, any improvements, a pool, in-ground pool or something, you own everything, and you own all the ground. You own the exterior of the building. And that's the cleanest type of ownership. The advantage is you can do just about anything you want with it as long as it meets the bylaws of the city. And you can change the color, you can change the color of the door or the windows, the window panes or whatever. When you move into the disadvantage, let me go there first, is if something breaks, if the roof needs shingling, if a window breaks, if a window rots, the deck goes rotten, guess who has to pay for that?
It's your responsibility as the owner.
Yeah, because it's freehold, you're the owner, you're responsible for maintenance.
Right.
Now, a condominium is a little bit different, and there's different levels of condominiums depending on how much is common in the condominium. Now, common elements might be the exterior of the building, the roof. Many times when you buy a condominium, you own kind of from the drywall in. So I always tell a little joke, don't open the door, because when the air goes out, you just lost what you paid for.
Right.
You only own the inside. And the advantage of that is your roof maintenance, your window changing, anything on the exterior, if the siding rots or the deck rots, the maintenance, cutting the grass, fixing the laneway if it has parking. It might even have a garage. The garage door would be covered. So all of that exterior maintenance is covered by the condominium corporation. Now, of course, they don't do it out of the goodness of their heart.
Right.
So you pay a monthly fee to the condominium, and that covers some things. Typically, it's care and maintenance. And then it also covers, quite often, water, because they don't have separate water meters. And quite often it covers insurance for the exterior. So you still need to buy insurance. It's called condominium insurance. It's a little bit cheaper than freehold insurance, and it's a little more expensive than just content insurance if you were a tenant. Okay. The condominium disadvantage, of course, is you're paying that monthly fee, and it could be anywhere from $100 to $300 or $400 or $500. Some apartment condominiums even include the heat and hydro, so your condominium fee covers absolutely everything, and you don't have anything other than your taxes. Now, the disadvantage is if what they're doing with that condominium fee is they break it into chunks. Some of it is for the ongoing maintenance and the management of the property and the water charges and that sort of thing and the insurance. And some of it's called a reserve fund.
Right.
And that reserve fund gets saved up for when something major needs to be repaired, like the shingles on the roof or
all the windows in a building.
Windows or whatever. Now the difficulty is if enough money wasn't put aside and a big unexpected thing comes up, then there may be what's called a special assessment. And with the special assessment, might be a one-time fee, or it might be your condo fee is going to increase, $100 or $200 a month for the next year or the next 2 years or whatever. And so that's one of the disadvantages with condominiums. You don't have that control of when you're going to spend money. So it's a little trickier that way. When you go to get financing, generally, if you're going through a bank or CMHC or getting financing, mortgage, insurance, what they're going to do is they're going to take half of the condominium payment and they're going to use that in the calculation of how much you can afford.
Right.
And the reason they only use half is because they figure half is for the maintenance of the property, and you'd be doing that if you had a freehold anyways.
Right.
Yeah. So that's kind of those two things. And now what we're running into lately is kind of a hybrid of a condo and a freehold, and that's where only the road is part of the condominium, and sometimes it's not even a condominium corporation, it's just a common element agreement, and we have to be very careful there because that fee may be 50 or 100, and it's called an association or common element fee, and it's designed for clearing the road because it'll be a private road. You'll notice when you're looking at street names, some of them say private.
Right.
That means the city has not taken on the responsibility of that road. Usually developers will do that because it can be narrower, less cost to build it, less land usage, and yet then the city won't take it over because it's not big enough for their requirements and not heavy enough construction. So those fees go into continual maintenance and maybe repaving if it needs in some time. And so we have to do the same research that we do with a condominium as we do with something with special element. Now that's very common in the city. The other thing that's common out in Greeley, there's a developer that does lakes, and they have ponds, man-made ponds or lakes, and they have an in-ground swimming pool, and they have tennis courts. And there's an association fee that's charged monthly.
Right.
And that covers those elements, and everyone in the group can use those elements.
Right. Wonderful resource for a community to have those elements available to you.
Yes, it's really great. We just need to make sure that as a realtor, we're protecting our client again and making sure that there's enough reserve to repair or maintain those in that common element fee. So one of the things that we can order, and we actually put it in our offers for condominiums, is a status certificate. And a status certificate really tells what's going on in the condominium corporation, and also it requires the last minutes of the last meeting. And in that information then goes to the lawyer, and the lawyer can look at it and do an assessment whether the reserve fund is large enough for the anticipated repairs. Now, one of the interesting things is the Condominium Act was just updated a little while back, and now they're required to do engineers' reports every certain number of years that tell what the projected maintenance is going to be.
Right.
And budgets on that, so they can do a reserve fund assessment and say whether the condominium fee should be increased to put more money into that reserve, so that later on people aren't getting hit with the large assessments.
With the special assessments.
Yeah, the big special assessments was what really started to give condominiums a bad name.
Right.
And we had a real small assessment once, I forget how many years ago, 3-4 years ago, when we had so much snow. It was a crazy snow year, and so the condominiums had to clear the snow on the roadways way more often than they normally would.
Right.
And so they had a special assessment. It was like $200 per unit or something. And that was very reasonable, and people were okay with that. It's when you get hit with a big one where it's thousands of dollars where it can be really interesting, you know. Yeah, so then there's another form which is rarer, and it's called co-op.
Right.
And some people think that a co-op is like a condominium. And really it's not, because a condominium, you have a corporation, you have a shell out here that's responsible for the common elements. And if something went really wrong, that corporation could go bankrupt.
Protects the individual
It protects
owners.
the individuals, exactly.
Right.
With a co-op, everyone is co-owners of the entire thing. And if several owners default and stop paying, all the other owners are responsible for the empty ones.
Right.
And that can get expensive.
So it could be a little riskier, but there must be advantages to cooperatives as well.
Not too many that I can think of. they're a little easier to get in, but they're actually much harder to finance because the mortgage company also knows that they're at a higher risk in a co-op than they are in a condominium corporation. So,
right. And I understand that often it's private lenders that you need to get the financing from for co-ops, that there are a lot of banks that just won't even look at a cooperative at this point.
Yeah, so it's tougher. And then one of the least levels of ownership is a long-term lease. Some people call them life leases. Sometimes they're 99-year leases. Sometimes they're leased for the amount of the amortization. So there'll be a 25-year lease, and you're amortizing your mortgage for 25 years. Otherwise, the mortgage company wouldn't give you a mortgage if the lease period was shorter than the amortization period.
Sure.
Now, one of the issues with leased land is buildings tend to depreciate.
Correct.
Because over time they wear out and they need replacing. The land doesn't.
Right.
And it tends to go up in value. So typically, you're going to get a combination of things happening on a freehold or a condominium where your value is increasing. Because even in a condominium, you're a co-owner of the common elements. When you go to leased land, the person that's leasing the land retains 100% ownership of the land. So as it goes up in value, they're getting the benefit. And you'll find that quite often on modular homes or mobile homes where it's leased or rented land. And one of the issues with mobile homes is typically they decrease in value. And like a car, not quite as fast as a car, but like a car. And the land that's going up in value isn't owned by them.
Right.
So not necessarily the wisest investment, but it is a way to get a property at a much lower price.
Absolutely. And one thing that I know about land leases, or some that we find in this area anyway, is there's no land transfer tax, which it does save you money up front in the initial transaction.
Yes, if you're going to go, especially if you're moving frequently,
right?
The land transfer tax can get expensive. Fortunately for first-time buyers, there is a credit up to $2,000 on the land transfer tax. So it's not as significant if you're buying an affordable home, you know, $200,000, $250,000, $300,000. The land transfer tax is not significant now. Yeah. Now the other thing that's interesting is there's two types of ownership, and that's called tenants in common and joint tenants.
Right, and we're talking the people now, right? Versus the building itself.
That's right. Yeah. So this is no longer the product, but how the people hold ownership. And there's some huge differences, and the lawyer actually decides how to register it at the time of purchase. And if they do it wrong, it can really, really negatively affect the owners.
Sure.
Okay? So tenants in common is an interesting and primarily the way homes are owned. And in tenants in common, you can have different percentages. So one person could have 25% ownership, another person could have 75, or you could have three people, they each have 33 1/3% ownership. And if someone, you know, God forbid, but if someone passed away, their portion of the ownership remains in their estate. It remains their ownership.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So that's very important for partners, you know, people that go in and buy multiple properties. Now, as the other type, which is joint tenants, where you have things are owned jointly, then there is no survivorship of the ownership into the estate. So if two people go in and buy a property and one dies, full ownership transfers to the other person.
Sure, and we see that very often in matrimonial home situations, husband, wife, spouse, ownership.
Yep. Quite often it's done that way, exactly. Now, you mentioned matrimonial homes. That's an interesting thing. A lot of people don't realize, they think that when they're common law, that their ownership of the home has the same rules as if you're married.
Right.
And it's not.
Right.
Not exactly the same. If you only have one person on title, and maybe it was someone was owning the home before you got together, and then you lived together for 5 years or whatever, and then that person decided they wanted to sell the home, their partner could not stop them.
Right.
And they don't need to sign. Whereas if it's a matrimonial home under the Family Law Act, it says that if this person wants to sell the house, even if they were on title before and then they got married, they cannot sell it without spousal consent, and we as realtors, we have to get the spouse's signature on the listing and also on the sale document. So they actually have some control. That's not saying that the person that's common law may not have some rights to some of the money that comes out of the house, but they have no control whether their partner sells it or not.
Right, and this is matrimonial home goes sort of above and beyond ownership, doesn't it? In the way that if I'm a spouse and this is my matrimonial home, I don't even necessarily have to be an owner of the house for it to be deemed my matrimonial home.
No, you're not. You don't even have to be on title.
Right.
If that's your principal residence
Right.
with your spouse, it's a matrimonial home, and you automatically have control of whether it can be sold or not.
Sure, and I don't know that everybody understands that.
That's right.
Right.
Now, that doesn't also apply to investment properties.
Right.
So if your spouse buys an investment property in their own name, then they have control of that investment property, whether they can sell it or not.
Sure.
Okay. Interesting about condominiums. Let's go back there for a second and just backtrack a little bit.
Sure.
There's been a fairly recent, it's not that recent, but fairly recent development in commercial where they're actually developing commercial condominium units where it used to be industrial, but now it's in retail, it's all over the place, where a small business owner can actually buy their condominium commercial unit. So they'll buy 1,000 square feet or 2,000 or 3,000 square feet chunk, and then they own it. And that works really well because many small businesses are paying large lease payments to rent the space they're in.
Sure.
They can't afford to buy a multi-million-dollar building.
Right.
And yet they may be able to buy the 2,000 square feet or the 1,000 square feet for, a couple $100,000 or whatever per 1,000 square feet. And the mortgage payment's actually less than their lease payment was. And suddenly they're building equity instead of just paying their landlord for leasing. So a really great product that's come out recently for condominiums for commercial, and we'd love to sit down and chat with anybody who's got a small business, might think that might suit their business needs. We'd certainly be able to help them there if they came to our financial investment workshop.
Right.
Yeah, on the second Thursday of each month, and they could call our 613-860-4663 number if they wanted to register, and they'd probably talk to you, wouldn't
Very
they?
likely they'll talk to me, and
Yeah.
I'd be happy to help them for sure.
Yeah. Now, Yetta and I touched on it a little earlier on fractional and timeshares.
Right.
It's a different type of property ownership again, where you own only a certain percentage for a certain number, and usually it's a specific week or 2 weeks or whatever. Those would be your lowest level of control and ownership.
Yes, but again, there must be some advantage to them.
Yes. Timeshares are great because you can travel from, usually you can travel from country to country and stay in different locations because you're sharing the time, not as these units are together in a group. One of the issues with timeshares is they have a yearly fee,
Right.
whether you use them or not. And secondly, there's generally a program you've got to sign up with. It might be $100 or $200 a year that you sign up with the company that actually does the switching of time units.
Right.
Now, fractionals do not switch, so you can't buy a fractional here and then stay in Vancouver or stay in Florida, because your fractional is your fractional, and you're actually on title.
Right.
So it would be the tenants in common, where you might own 1/12 or 1/10 of a property. Great for properties that are like a cottage or seasonal use or something where you only want to use it for 4 weeks of the year.
Sure.
So why own it for 52 weeks of the year?
Makes sense.
And pay maintenance on it, insurance, and all that for all that period of time. So that's where fractionals really come in.
So that fractional would be the type of situation where I have friends who go down to Florida every year to the same spot, and perhaps I might want to go there with them, versus timeshare where it is throughout different countries?
Yeah, fractional, and fractionals are, again, not that common.
Right.
But they're being used for things like airplanes and yachts and things where people, if you want to own an airplane and you want to fly it, 50 or 100 hours a year, why own it 100% and have it sit on a runway while you have to pay maintenance and insurance and the whole shot on it? Where these things are $1 million plane, you can own a tenth of it or even less, a 50 of it, and then you can use it. And it's kind of neat because those systems, they charge you maintenance based on the number of hours you actually put on the plane.
Right.
So that works out really well.
Right.
Yeah, so it's been really fun talking about different types of ownership. I know it's a little bit of a dry subject, but it's important that our buyers understand this, because the type of ownership that you have when you buy affects your value when you sell and your market of who wants to buy. Now, interesting, in Ottawa, the condominium market's been climbing faster than the residential market for the last number of years. That could also go the other way. If values start to decline, condominiums, in my experience, may tend to go down faster than a freehold home. So it's kind of a bit of, 6 of one and half a dozen of another. Which type of ownership really depends on the person, their needs, whether they want to maintain the outside. That's the beauty with condominium I didn't talk about. Some people that travel a lot,
absolutely,
maintenance is all done on the outside.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, Ken, a lot of the condos that are going up, just to stay on the condo topic for a second, a lot of the condos that are going up in the city right now are new construction condos. Mm-hmm. As realtors, again, I don't know that everybody realizes the advantage of working with a realtor and purchasing a new condo as well as purchasing something that already exists. Yeah. Going to speak for a second on the advantages of working for a realtor to purchase new construction?
Well, the beauty with new construction, whether it's a condo or a freehold, right, when you're working with the Decker team, is we don't really care which builder you buy from. We want you to get the best builder for you, and the best product for you. Whereas if you just walk into a new builder site, they only have one product to sell. Right. And so whether it's right for you or not, they want to try and sell it to you. So that's the difference with getting someone from the Decker team. So I highly recommend you give us a call. We'd love to sit down and chat with you, talk to you about your needs, wants, and desires, and how we can help you attain your dreams. So it's Ken Decker at 613-860-4663. And if you want to send us an email question that we can answer on a future show, we'd love you to do that. And you can send that to deckerteam@chri.ca. Bye for now.